Aisha Carter was 14, a freshman at Oakland High School, living in a modest duplex with her mother, Tanya, and younger brother, Jamal. The family scraped by on Tanya's wages as a nurse's aide, supplemented by occasional odd jobs Aisha took, like babysitting or helping at the corner store. Their neighborhood, known as Eastmont, was a mix of working-class families, small businesses, and pockets of crime that kept residents cautious. Gangs operated nearby, and police patrols were frequent but not always trusted. Aisha, though, had a spark. Curious, quick-witted, and unafraid to speak her mind. She was the kind of kid who'd hold the door for strangers or share her lunch with a classmate who forgot theirs. The Hells Angels, a motorcycle club with a notorious reputation, weren't strangers to Oakland. Their presence often stirred unease, tied to stories of bar brawls, drug runs, or clashes with rival groups. But not every member fit the outlaw stereotype. Among them was Eddie Hawk Malone, a 42-year-old mechanic and lifelong biker who joined the Angels in his 20s. Eddie wasn't a saint. He'd done time for assault a decade ago, but he lived by a code, loyalty to his brothers and respect for those who showed it first. His Harley, a 1983 shovelhead he'd rebuilt himself, was his pride, but had a habit of breaking down at the worst times. It was a humid Saturday afternoon in July 2024 when Aisha crossed paths with Eddie. She was walking home from the store, clutching a bag of groceries for dinner, rice, beans, and a few vegetables her mom had budgeted for. Eddie was stranded on San Leandro Street, his bike sputtering after a fuel line clogged. He'd pulled over near a gas station, cursing under his breath as he realized he was short on cash for a replacement part. The station's mechanic shop was closed, and the nearest auto parts store was a mile away. Aisha, passing by, noticed a burly man in a leather vest, tattoos snaking up his arms, kneeling by his bike. Most people would have kept walking. Aisha didn't. She approached cautiously, her sneakers scuffing the pavement. "You okay, mister?" she asked, her voice steady but polite. Eddie looked up, surprised. Kids didn't usually talk to him, especially not black kids in this part town. "Bike's busted," he grunted. "Need a clam for the fuel line, but I'm $1 short." Aisha glanced at the coins in her pocket. Change in the groceries, meant for a soda she'd skipped to save money. Without hesitating, she handed him the coins. 2 quarters, 3 dimes, a nickel. "Hope this helps," she said, shrugging. Eddie took the change, nodding. "Thanks, kid. What's your name?" "Aisha," she replied, then kept walking, thinking nothing of it. Eddie used the change to buy the clamp, fix his bike, and rode back to the Hells Angels clubhouse, a squat building off MacArthur Boulevard. That night, over beers with his crew, he told the story of the kid who bailed him out. The Angels listened, intrigued. In their world, small acts carried weight. Aisha's gesture, unprompted, no strings attached, hit a nerve. Eddie's chapter president, a grizzled veteran named Ray Bulldog Carter, no relation to Aisha, saw an opportunity. The club had been trying to clean up its image after years of bad press. Community outreach, like toy drives or charity rides, was part of that. "Let's do something for her," Bulldog said. The idea snowballed. By the next morning, word had spread through the Hells Angels network. Chapters from across California and even Nevada rallied. Bikers who'd never met Aisha felt a pull. Her act was a reminder that respect cut through divides. They planned a ride to her house, not just to thank her, but to make a statement. Kindness deserved recognition, no matter who you were. Eddie, who'd gotten her address from a friend who knew the neighborhood, led the charge. The Angels coordinated with other local clubs, swelling their numbers. By noon on Sunday, nearly 1,000 bikers, Hells Angels, Mongols, even independent riders, gathered at a staging point near Lake Merritt. Aisha's Sunday started like any other. She was helping Jamal with math homework when the distant rumble of engines began. It grew louder, like a storm rolling in. Tanya, peering out the window, froze. "Aisha, what's that?" she asked, her voice tight. Aisha joined her, eyes widening as a sea of motorcycles filled their street. Leather-clad riders, bikes gleaming in the sun, lined up in orderly rows. Neighbors stepped onto porches, phones out, recording. Some thought it was trouble. Others recognized the Hells Angels patches, and whispered nervously. Eddie stepped forward, helmet under his arm, and knocked on the Carter's door. Tanya opened it, wary, with Aisha behind her. "I'm Eddie Malone," he said. "Your daughter helped me yesterday. We're here to say thanks." Aisha peeked out, stunned. Bulldog joined Eddie, holding a small leather satchel. "Aisha," he said, "you didn't have to help one of us, but you did. That means something." He handed her the satchel, which contained $5,000, pooled from the club's members as a gesture of gratitude. Tanya's hand shook as she took it, tears welling. "This is for her school or whatever she needs." Bulldog added, "The bikers didn't just bring money. They brought food, boxes of groceries, enough to stock the Carter's pantry for months." Another rider, a woman named Carla who ran a tutoring program, offered Aisha free academic support for college prep. A mechanic from a San Jose chapter handed Tanya a card for free bike or car repairs. The gesture wasn't just about the moment. It was about building a bridge. The crowd of riders cheered when Aisha stepped outside, shy but smiling. She didn't know what to say, so she just waved, and the roar of approval shook the block. Word of the event spread fast. A neighbor's video, posted to X, went viral by evening. 1,000 bikers show up for black teen who gave spare change to a Hell's Angel. Local news picked it up, framing it as a feel-good story in a city often defined by division. Reporters interviewed Eddie, who kept it simple. She saw a guy who needed help, didn't judge. That's rare. Aisha, camera shy, told journalists, "I just thought he needed the money more than me." The impact rippled. Tanya, overwhelmed, used the money to enroll Aisha in an SAT prep course and set aside the rest for her college fund. The groceries eased their budget strain, letting Tanya cut back on extra shifts. Aisha, already a good student, leaned into her studies harder, inspired by the support. Carla's tutoring helped her ace math, a subject she'd struggled with. The community took notice, too. The Hells Angels, often viewed with suspicion, gained goodwill. They followed up with a back-to-school drive in Eastmont, distributing backpacks and supplies to kids. But the story wasn't without complexity. Some residents questioned the Angels' motives, suspecting a PR stunt. On X, debates flared. "Are they buying loyalty?" one user posted. Others defended the gesture, pointing out the club's history of charity rides. Aisha's family faced scrutiny, too. Some neighbors whispered about accepting biker money. Tanya shut it down firmly. "They helped us when we needed it. That's what matters." For Aisha, the experience was a turning point. She'd always been empathetic but guarded, shaped by a neighborhood where trust was hard-earned. The bikers' response showed her that kindness could come from unexpected places. She started volunteering at a local youth center, mentoring younger kids. Eddie, meanwhile, kept in touch, checking in occasionally to see how she was doing. He saw her as a kid with potential, someone who could break cycles he'd seen trap others. The Hells Angels didn't stop with Aisha. Bulldog's chapter doubled down on community work, organizing food drives, and even a scholarship fund in Aisha's name, seeded with club donations. It wasn't enough to erase their past, but it shifted perceptions. Oakland's mayor praised the effort in a press conference, calling it a model for unity. Aisha's story became a case study in how small acts can spark big change. Schools invited her to speak, though she often declined, preferring to focus on her goals. College, maybe law school, inspired by a desire to advocate for kids like her brother. The bikers' visit wasn't just a moment, it was a catalyst. Eastmont saw less tension the months that followed, with community events drawing diverse crowds. The Angels, once feared, became a complicated symbol of redemption. The broader context matters too. Oakland in 2024 was grappling with economic strain and crime spikes. The Hells Angels, despite their reputation, were part of the city's fabric, running businesses like auto shops and bars. Their outreach wasn't new. Charity rides have been a staple for decades, but Aisha's story amplified it. Social media played a role, with ex-posts shaping narratives. Some saw it as a rare win for a city often in the news for violence. Eddie's backstory adds depth. Raised in Fresno by a single mom, he fell into biking young, drawn to the brotherhood. His time in prison taught him perspective. He cleaned up, focusing on his shop and club duties. Helping Aisha was personal. He saw his younger self in her hustle. Tanya's perspective is equally vital. A single mom, she'd fought to give her kids stability. The biker's gesture was a lifeline, but she worried about Aisha being in the spotlight. She set strict rules. No media without her okay, and the money went straight to savings. Jamal, Aisha's 10-year-old brother, idolized the bikers. He begged to ride a motorcycle one day, though Tanya shut that down fast. Still, he started drawing bikes, dreaming of engines. The Angels' logistics were impressive. Organizing 1,000 riders took calls, texts, and favors across chapters. They planned a route to avoid police attention, knowing their size could alarm. Each biker chipped in $5 here, $10 there for the satchel. Carla, the tutor, became a mentor. She joined the Angels Women's Auxiliary after leaving an abusive marriage, finding strength in the club. She saw Aisha as a younger sister, guiding her through essays and applications. The media frenzy lasted weeks. National outlets picked up the story, framing it as bikers and black teen defy odds. Aisha hated the attention, but appreciated the scholarship offers that came. Community leaders used the momentum. A pastor hosted a unity barbecue, inviting bikers and residents. It wasn't perfect. Tensions lingered, but it was a start. Aisha's school honored her with a citizenship award. She accepted quietly, saying, "I just did what felt right." The Angels faced criticism, too. Rival clubs mocked their soft move, but Bulldogs shrugged it off. "We do what we want." Their charity work grew, with rides raising $50,000 for local schools. A year later, Aisha was a junior, eyeing colleges like Howard or UC Berkeley. The satchel money covered her SAT fees and a laptop. She kept in touch with Eddie, who sent her a Hells Angels patch, not to wear, but as a keepsake. Tanya found stability, promoted to head aide. She credited Aisha's act for opening doors. The story's ripple effect continued. Oakland's Youth Center named a program after Aisha, teaching kids about community. The Angels joined, mentoring at-risk teens. This wasn't a fairy tale. Oakland still faced crime, poverty, distrust. But Aisha's spare change proved small acts could shift tides. It showed that in a divided world, respect could bridge gaps. The Hells Angels, for all their flaws, showed heart. Aisha, for all her youth, showed courage. Together, they reminded Oakland and beyond that humanity could surprise.